afternoon in what is threatening to be a rainy Friday. I'm still hoping that it does rain. I think it was threatening from last Friday and it still hasn't rained. But I know somebody who is looking forward to the rains. But a very, very good afternoon to everybody. Welcome again to Friday Drinks. Are you looking forward to the rains?
I've been waiting for the rains for the longest time. But we are in October, so obviously we will start getting worried around mid-November. So far, so good.
Okay. So what happened to this idea of climate change-proof farming, where you don't care whether it rains or not? You're going to do well anyway.
Look, I think that's the future, but you also have to appreciate that we have just gone through a land reform program that sort of...
20 years just?
Yes. That sort of disturbed the investment platform in agriculture. So there are new farmers that have emerged in the last 20 years. I think some of them are still trying to find their feet. And some of the early ones have probably started investing in irrigation, because to agree with you, you can't do any meaningful irrigation just hopping on the rains. You know, you need to have some to climate proof your
operation.
Your operation.
Well, we hope and pray it actually rains today. It's certainly raining in the studio, and thanks to Omari, who have been kind enough to sponsor this particular show. But they've gone far and beyond just that. On our trip to the UK, they've signed us up on Omari. I must say, I'm now on Omari. And they've, given us a bit of money and we can spend in the UK. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you very much, Omari. And I think it's special. They've really come through in many ways. And I think that, the cashing in and cashing out, I can see it working, and it's working very well. And in terms of transaction costs, it's actually very negligible. I'm not even looking at the costs, but it feels good whenever I want to transfer money or do something. And I'm asking the next party if they have Omari. And, you can also zip it. I didn't know you could actually zip it from your Omari wallet.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Well, you're now on Omari.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do my first transaction in the UK.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We are all expected to do our first transaction in the UK.
No, you're supposed to upload more money on your Omari.
Okay, that's something that I can do.
Before we travel, sure.
That I can work on.
That's what you were supposed. That's what you were given, Omari.
Yes. So
the wallet, because you can actually upload, and then you get a Visa card, which is fantastic. Because and I think Sharon did highlight this.
Yeah.
You can actually use that to make all sorts of payments that require Visa, your international cards. So for your Netflix, for your DSTV, Showmax, and Apple Pay, it does that. So it's it's not just a product that we talk about. It's a product that is actually useful and valuable, and the app is just easy to use.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Very seamless.
And putting money into Omari is not difficult. So even when we are in the UK, we can always ask our friends and family to deposit some money into
your wallet.
Into your wallet.
And make things happen.
Yeah, you can also zip it from your other from a bank account into Omari and then get swiping. So we're so looking forward to it.
I thought that was like a really good thing that you can actually zip it. So thank you very much, Omari, and we look forward to spending your money in the UK. And
for sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we will, it's either we will be sad or we'll be very happy. But I'm happy.
Why will you be sad when you have got some money
if it doesn't work?
No, it will certainly work. It's working. It works. It works.
I have very high conviction that
I don't think there's that risk of it not working. I think what will happen is just I don't know if we can go back to them after we've depleted our allocations and
get a top up.
Very true. Very true. Shumba, what are you having?
Also, I discovered this. In some of my whiskey circles, they've been cooing about this Taiwanese whiskey called Caroline for quite a long time, and I've never tried it. Apparently, it's an easy drinking whiskey, and they know what they're doing over there. in Taipei. So I managed to get my hands on one, and so far it's a delight. It's a pity TG isn't here to taste it with me. He would also. I'm sure he'd be grinning from ear to ear like a Cheshire cat.
No, I'm sure. We had so much fun.
Like on your drinking journey, have you ever come across any people that you'd say, this was terrible?
Well, look, I
4 years doing this, you've never said
Yes.
but never given
a bad review. Look, there are thousands of different whiskeys and brands, and the ones that I actually bring to the show would have been created, right? Somebody who knows what they're talking about would have said, "Hey, have you tried like this Kavalan?" I didn't discover it myself. Somebody said, "Hey, there's this Taiwanese whiskey. It's really interesting."
Well, I know one that you actually don't like, and I'm whispering to someone in the audience there to actually bring, is it Famous Grouse? Well, they have bad things to say about that.
Yeah.
Well, a friend of mine was drinking an incarnation of that brand that is awful after the show last week.
Is that because it's bad, or you just because it's cheap? I guess it's cheap, right?
No.
And you're just saying cheap is bad.
No. I'm not saying. Look, there's some really.
Are there some cheap whisks?
There's some so Jameson. The cheapest incarnation of Jameson is good. It's so like if you like
you've never had it on the show.
I think I've had Jameson on the show actually.
The cheapest incarnation.
No, I don't think I've had because there are many incarnations of Jameson, but I haven't had the cheapest. But
can you do that?
Yeah, but
it's in the next show.
Yeah.
Could you bring something that is
really cheap and good? Yeah,
so that the audience can actually.
Yeah. No. There's lots of we call them cheap and cheerful. There's lots of cheap and cheerful.
Here's a challenge.
So I'll bring some cheap and cheerful whiskeys.
Yeah. And for us teetotalers, we are having
what are you doing today?
Apple juice, again courtesy of big benefactor that's out there that has
fantastic.
given us quite a bunch of apple juice, and we need to get rid of it before we travel.
Yes, so they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right?
Well, there you go.
Cheers to that.
Juice. Cheers. It's better. Cheers. And so, gentlemen. Cheers. So, gentlemen, the way we want to start this is maybe talk about what's actually happening in the UK. And this is the Friday Drinks and Sahwira Market Place. What is it actually? And why are we going to the UK? Maybe you want to give our audience a bit of background.
Sure. So our good friend Nyati is a phenomenal businessman and entrepreneur. He built the Nyaradzo business here in Zimbabwe, and they're in the business of taking funeral assurance premiums and actually doing the service. When you're bereaved, everything from your casket to if you need a bus, if you need tents and other and other equipment for to help you with your bereavement. They basically do everything from A to Z, and they're really good at it. Sahwira Mkulu. And one of the things that he realized is that there are a lot of Zimbabweans who live in the diaspora in South Africa and in the UK who have a connection to family and loved ones here in Zimbabwe, and many of them who live in the UK would want to travel if there's a bereavement, and would also want to be buried here in Zimbabwe. So Nyati saw this opportunity, and he set up in the UK, and he has signed up Zimbabweans in the diaspora on Nyaradzo funeral assurance products. So as we speak, he's got circa 25,000 paying customers in the UK. He has an office there. In fact, our event in the UK is going to be based at Nyaradzo House in Hertfordshire, which is about a 30-minute train ride out of central London. If you're going to drive, it's probably 40 to 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes, depending on traffic. So he's got this customer base that is loyal and faithful to Nyaradzo. And the opportunity that he has seen is that these customers have a connection to Zimbabwe. They want to transact and do business in Zimbabwe. And there's an opportunity, therefore, for other businesses to access that market and their spend. So whether it's so a lot of the sponsors, when we're going to go into that a little bit, do business here in Zimbabwe that is of interest to Zimbabweans in the diaspora. And what Sahwira Market Place is a platform where Zimbabwean businesses that don't want to go it alone and set up shop in the UK from scratch and start trying to market their products and figure out how to collect money from people in the UK, they can actually just plug into the Sahwira Marketplace and immediately have access to this customer base that is already spending money in Zimbabwe. And through Sahwira Money, the payment side is solved. And through the newsletter and the platform that we're building, you can actually market to this audience and access some of their spend. So it's an entrepreneurial project that we're excited about partnering Sahwira Marketplace as Friday Drinks, and that's really what we are going to showcase.
So the platform is not just purely UK customers, right? It's every Zimbabwean right across the diaspora in the US, in Australia,
in South Africa, everywhere, for sure.
They'll be able to connect to that marketplace and pick up products that they want, and it's seamless end to end.
Absolutely. That's the idea. So although we are going to be in Nyaradzo House in the UK, it's the entire diaspora, Zimbabweans all over the world. There are even places where Nyaradzo doesn't have a physical presence. If you're a Zimbabwean and you're interested in doing some transactions, you can plug into the Sahwira Marketplace and transact.
Okay. And so what's actually happening at Nyaradzo House, the fair itself?
So there's a bunch of things that we're going to do there. Obviously, we're going to have conversations with interesting Zimbabweans who are based in Zim, running businesses here, and also Zimbabweans who are based in the UK who are doing interesting things. And we're going to have wonderful conversations of interest to our audience. In addition to that, the way this Nyaradzo House is going to be set up, it will have a trade fair vibe. So a lot of our sponsors are going to have booths set up where Zimbabweans in the UK who visit during this fair, it'll be between from Wednesday the 29th of October to Sunday the 2nd of November from 10 in the morning to 5 p.m. You can come through, you can interact with our sponsors. They will have booths with brochures and details of their product offerings and how you can get on board. So that's really what's going to be happening. There's going to be the trade fair vibe, and then we will be having our fireside chats.
Okay, fantastic. And Zia, maybe you want to explain what's actually going to happen and with the dates.
All right. So maybe just before I get into the dates, I look at it as a project that's going to be solving quite a number of pain points for business and also for our fellow countrymen in the diaspora. For businesses, I think for the longest time, locally based businesses have been trying to get into markets outside of Zimbabwe. It's fair and fine. You can get into like neutral markets where they're going into somewhere in SADC or somewhere in Europe. But the Zim diaspora is really a captive market for them, because you are not going to be reintroducing your product and services. These are product and services that that particular market is already connected to. They already identify with the product that you're selling. And if you consider that as a country, we're receiving up to $1 billion USDs of remittances.
It's now closer to 2 billion.
To 2 billion. Then it just tells you that's such a big addressable market that our local business people can potentially benefit from. But I think their biggest hitch has been around how do you get to, to that individual. And this is what Nyaradzo has managed to do, and what the Sahwira Marketplace is going to do. At a go, a business is given access to at least 25,000
that are already paying customers.
Already paying customers. But then the multiplier effect because remember, it's a subscriber. So if you're going to be selling a product, you're not selling to the subscriber. You're selling it to the subscriber and everyone around them. So if you say the average diaspora family has got 2, 3, 4 family members directly, it's easily 100,000, an addressable market of 100,000, which no other business was going to sort of unlock on their own. So it's good. So all of a sudden, you've broadened your market from just say Bulawayo, Harare, Masvingo to selling in London, in Birmingham, in Manchester, just by the sheer plugging into this kind of network. So that's a huge advantage for the corporate.
But that's just not, the 25,000 is just the UK.
Just the UK.
But you have the US,
Yes,
South Africa,
exactly.
which is much bigger, Australia, and everywhere around
So
the
the
world.
numbers could be even much bigger than that.
Yeah. And they're plugging in
Yes.
to that marketplace. Yeah.
Yeah. And also for the diaspora, it's also solving a very big problem of, agents problem. So the diaspora send money to us, we are here, and sometimes things don't necessarily go according to plan, either, by sheer, whether people are being dishonest or maybe something just goes horribly wrong. And we have heard stories of how a number of people in diaspora have lost value trying to buy property in Zim or sending money through, their own network, and things don't necessarily work out that way. So for the first time, this platform is going to give them direct access to the safes provider. So instead of sending money, if that money is targeting to buy something, you might as well buy it directly and then get that thing delivered to where you want it to go. So it means you're gonna get the exact quantity, quality, and the pricing also the same pricing that everyone is paying. So it's so much so it's really solving problems from both ends, and that's why we are excited to be partnering this marketplace.
Okay. So
then
go through
going
the
to
actual fair itself.
The actual fair itself. So it's starting on the 29th of October. So it's a very pegged program, which we're expecting to start around 9 with some welcoming remarks from Nyaradzo UK MD and some keynote address from senior people at Nyaradzo. And then between 10 and almost 4 o'clock, the visitors will be visiting the stands, the exhibitions, and the showcases. Like what Rufaro was saying, it has got a trade fair sort of vibe. But this one is it's not your typical trade fair where you don't know the market that you are selling to. You know exactly, it's mostly the Zim diaspora in the UK. So you are selling them direct. And you'd expect that so many deals will be, signed, or people, getting to buy or pay for the services that they are looking for. And then around from 4 to about 5, we'll then start recording our shows. So we're going to just have conversations with a number of, I think the first and foremost are the safes providers. All these sponsors that we have, we want them to speak directly to the diaspora,
to that marketplace,
and be selling, and also just providing information on how the people in diaspora can access their product, how they can have them if they are physical products, how they can be delivered, how they can pay for them, and etc. So that people don't have to jump through hoops when they are looking for things, or don't fall into bad hands, paying for something that is never delivered. And then Thursday, again, it starts off with visits to the stands, then main partners live podcast. So we're then going to then have to sit down with some of the main partners that will go. There's a whole list of them, and then we have conversations. So these conversations, the way I want to look at them is we actually it's Friday drinks. We are known for having conversations of a policy nature, reacting to policy announcements. This one is going to be unique in the sense that we are actually speaking, we are going micro. So ordinarily we are doing macro, right? GDP, interest rates, economic performance, and etc. Now we're going to have conversation with the productive sector, the guys who are producing something and they are selling it, and how that can be of value to the diaspora market, how they can participate. So we'll have those conversations from different sectors, which we'll also just highlight. And then on to Friday. Friday is a big day where we would have the ambassador as the guest of honor, just addressing the guests there. And we'll have remarks from key people within Nyaradzo, including obviously the CEO himself, Mr. We'll have to call him Nyat, right? Yeah, so Nyat and other colleagues. So we'll have the official opening of the fair by the ambassador, and then lunch for guests and exhibitors. The program actually stretches into the weekend. So November, we'll have the 1st of November on a Saturday, we're going to have in-depth interactive discussions where we'll start deep diving into sort of niche topics. So obviously beyond the selling that we're going to be doing with some of our partners, we'll also have other participants. Mm-hmm. So Zimbabweans that are probably based in diaspora, that are subject matter experts in different areas that we're going to have conversations with. And then obviously photo sessions, and then there'll be a musical performance, or an artist is going to join. Sunday being the last day where we're just wrapping up things, word of thanks, and etc. So it's going to be jam-packed, like it's a whole week of activity. And to our viewers in the diaspora, it's an opportunity to come meet, mix and mingle with...
get to know each other.
Yeah, get to know each other.
Maybe, Rufaro, you could just explain, what some of the companies that have actually signed up and that are going to be exhibiting. Maybe just give us a bit of flavor and color of who they are.
Yeah, so we're going to cover all the platinum sponsors, the guys who really came in to support us, boots and all. So we have one of Zimbabwe's top legal firms on board, Canton Imerman. They are one of our platinum sponsors, and they're a great legal house. So anybody in the diaspora that needs work done in that space, we'll learn a little bit about Canton Imerman and their product offering. We have First Mutual Life Holdings, which is run by our friend Doug Hoto. And in that, so they're a platinum sponsor, and they run a portfolio of businesses from life assurance to health assurance to wealth management, and short-term insurance as well. So they will be speaking about their products and how people in the diaspora can access them via the Sahwira Market Place platform. We spent some time with another platinum sponsor this week at ProFeeds, ProPharma. I think Ranga was delighted to learn about some of their products, and they will be showcasing what they can do for people in the diaspora who are literally who have investments and interests in farming. I think they're doing fantastic things. We had a tour of their factory a couple of days ago. It was quite eye-opening and interesting. So we're going to hear a lot from them. I think I'm supposed to cover 4 here. Oh, and CMAS is also on board as a platinum sponsor. They are a medical insurance business that have vertically integrated to some degree, and they also are involved in the provision of medical services. So they'll be showcasing their products to the UK diaspora.
Fantastic. You wanna continue with some of
Yes. So they
and
should
some of the
also
people that
they should also look forward to hearing from CBZ, the biggest bank in the country by balance sheet. Obviously, the CBZ team is going to, talk about all the banking products, investment products, insurance products that they are offering, and how the diaspora can plug into those ones directly. So quite a number of people who in diaspora have got very strong ties to Zimbabwe. So whether they are looking for a mortgage, or they want to open an account, or they want to invest with the Diaspora and whatever, I think that's what the CBZ team is going to be talking about. Also alongside them will be Old Mutual, so the biggest investment house in the country by far. They're also going to be represented there, talking about the products, whether it's in short-term insurance, life assurance, in banking through CABs, and in investments. Like I've said, they're a big investment group.
And don't forget our friends at Omari.
Yeah, so the All Mutual is going to be also a big part there. And as Shumba has already said, Omari is part of All Mutual. They're a very exciting prospect in fintech. So I think the good thing about the Zim market, which the diaspora can benefit from, is how the level of fintech penetration, how quite a number of our people are using mobile-based money transfer or transacting platforms. So Omari obviously is going to be also part of the partners that are going to be there.
Oh, fantastic!
So it's really they are not going to be speaking about the macros, what they think the economy, the impact of the economy to this and that. It's really about what services that they are going to be providing to the diaspora.
You had it first.
Based.
So
Yes.
you had it first, yeah. And this is the Friday Drinks and Sahwira Market Place. And these are some of the companies and a whole lot more. Some from the Nyaradzo group and beyond that have signed up, and you would want to be part of this, because it's not only just interesting, but it's the interaction of a marketplace that goes just beyond just the fair that's going to happen in the UK. You're going to see us more and more on the hub, on the platform, which really will beam, almost on a daily basis, right across the world to the diasporans, those living in the UK, in the US, in Australia, in South Africa, in Tanzania, in Egypt, in all sorts of places that we can't even pronounce. You'll be able to link into the marketplace, and you'll be able to interact with these companies. So with that, maybe let's break for a few seconds, and then we'll catch you on the next segment. Cheers. Welcome back. Great to be here. It's on a Friday. We are taking bets on whether or not it's actually going to rain. As I look outside, it's still threatening. The clouds are forming. If I remember my geography well, I think it's going to rain. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I hope it rains. I like it when it's cooler. I enjoy the sun during the day. But yeah, I also like it when it's not so hot. Sometimes it gets almost unbearably hot.
Yeah, scorching, eh?
For me, it's just a wish. I wish it could rain.
Can we check those apps? What does the app actually say today? Is it
The
going to
weather
rain? The weather app, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know how reliable they are, but the good thing is
I think they're 60-70%
yeah,
reliable.
I think some parts of the country we hear they've received some rain, so that is assuring, because it just tells you that maybe it's just a matter of time. But for someone like me who really needs it like now, you're
crossing your fingers.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so next, because we're going to be away, I thought that what we probably need to talk about is, it's not just the rains that we look forward to in November and the exams, end of year exams and public exams, but it's also the national budget. And this usually comes around the end of November. But right now, the Ministry of Finance has actually been in consultation with a number of our stakeholders just to get the input. And it's also important because we know that we have lots of our members in the audience who actually will be contributing to the budget. So we might as well give them our ideas. And how we're going to do it is a little different from previously. Let's think about three things. I'll give you guys three things that you would like to see in the budget. So maybe we'll start with you, Rufaro. What would you like to see? What are the three top things that you would like to see in the budget for 2026?
Okay, cool. So before I get into your questions, I just want to give the government kudos for not printing. We've got challenges certainly on the Treasury side in terms of actually coming to the party and paying bills. So we know from our friends in the export sector that 30% retention is not being paid. There are many suppliers and vendors to the state who are also out of pocket. So that's a real problem in terms of paying your bills as the government. And I think so that's the first thing that I would want to see them address in terms of a plan to raise money and become current with their creditors. I think it's I think it's a crisis, and I think it's also an opportunity to do things differently, raise a bunch of money, restructure the debt, and pay. So that's the first thing from a finance capital perspective. The second thing is obviously one of the reasons why we're in this we're having this challenge is because we spend more than we should, and I think it's an opportunity as well to approach the books with a zero budget mindset. This idea of starting with a clean sheet of paper and asking what is absolutely indispensable, and only spending that is absolutely indispensable should be in the budget, and everything else we should cut. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to do this. And then last but not least, and I think, and I will give Treasury kudos for this as well, because one of the things that drained the fiscus in terms of liquidity is these big infrastructure projects which have useful lives measurable in decades. But we were funding them with short money, right? What you actually should do, ideally, is to pair projects with decades-long useful lives with funding that is also decades-long. And what I am thankful that the state has realized and is doing now is they are signing these build, operate, transfer deals, where a company in the private sector comes through with the funding and the technical and operational expertise to do the infrastructure project, and then they run it on a commercial basis, recover, get a return, and then transfer it to the state. So this is, I think, what's happening with Harare, with the Harare Chirundi Road. So I want to see more of that.
You're not okay. You're just saying you want to see more.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. So of the three things,
you just want to see more of.
So okay, well, actually, we haven't seen any meaningful debt restructuring. So that's the first thing that I talked about, right? Mm-hmm. And so we definitely need that, right? That's something new. And I think there's a lot of bright people in banking and finance. Some of them are sitting here. who can help with that, right? So that's the first thing. And obviously, we need to cut costs, right? We're a small, poor country, and we have a bloated, the expense side of the national budget is bloated, and we need a Doge here that looks at that expense side of the national accounts and makes cuts. And then obviously, lastly, we've seen the one deal with Harare Chirundu. I think all of our infrastructure problems are best solved by that model of build, operate, transfer.
Okay. Zia, what would you like to see? What are the top 3 things that you would like to see in the budget?
Reduction in some taxes, because I believe that we are one of the taxed citizens in the world. And
do you have taxes in specific tax that you would like to see?
So we need to definitely get rid of the IMTT. Yeah, we need to get rid of the IMTT. We need to even reduce corporate taxes to a certain level. Provide some incentive. Accept and acknowledge that we are a growing, or we should be a growing economy. And in a growing economy, what you need to do is to incentivize the investor to put in money. And so if you've got high taxes, you're not going to have more investments coming here. So the idea of maybe using the special economic zones as a way of also incentivizing exporting businesses, I think we need to be more supportive of exporters than we've been doing in the past. So definitely the policy on retentions, the 30%. I know it's difficult, or maybe the possibility of that happening probability is very low, but it will be great if businesses are allowed to either keep more or most of their foreign currency, but where the foreign currency has to be liquidated, it has to be done at a rate that is close to the market. Mm-hmm. So there's something around incentives and also the taxes. Then the regulatory environment. I think we have seen what government has tried to do this year to try and improve the ease of doing business, where certain fees or some commissions were reduced. I think we need to see more of that, and if anything, there's need to actually of some regulatory consolidation, if I could put it that way, where you don't have, like, a business doesn't have to be reporting to so many regulators, some of whom are, there's a lot of intersections. So we have got ZIDA for a reason. So they must be able to talk to all the other sub-regulators and ensure that only relevant regulation that are probably needed for security and safety of the country are maintained. But anything that drains out businesses has to be gotten rid of. And then some clarity on the currency.
Don't we have all the clarity that we need? We are de-dollarizing, and it's ZIG in 2030. So I don't think it's clarity you want. I think the government has been very clear.
Yeah, but that clarity,
you just don't agree with it.
Yeah, so I think I guess maybe you're right that it's probably not clarity, but certainly the current question is always a problem. So when you look at the fact that there are still some businesses that are owed money for years, the blocked funds, though you need to resolve those, and for funds to start flowing, because that has got a positive impact on the confidence of the investor. But as they are doing that, they also need not to forget the local supplier. All these stories of suppliers that are owed money and not getting paid, I think doesn't augur well for any progressive economic development. So it's probably more than 3, but there are so many asks that you can make of the policymakers as they're crafting the budget.
Okay. I think what I've heard from the two of you, so I'll give you my 3, but what I've clearly heard, and I'll continue the theme, that it's the macro policy issues that we need to deal with. It's not really the granular, but it's from a definitional or from a philosophical perspective. What do we want to achieve? And if we address that, then we address everything else. And I tend to agree with that mindset. So I'll continue. I'll give you my 3. The first one is inflation. I think that the entire Zimbabwe behaves as if we're not in a high inflation environment. People forget this. And the biggest thing that is killing value, that erodes value, is inflation. And I think that, having a US dollar inflation of 14% is high. 13, I think it's reduced by about 1%. So it's now about 13% as of September. That is very high in US dollar terms. And when you look at the ZiG inflation, this is 82%. And part of it was because of the devaluation. But I think we're more likely to see another devaluation in 2026. I don't buy the idea that it's going to be a stable currency for a number of reasons. The reason why it has been stable is because we have a lot of what government owes as far as the suppliers and contractors are concerned. That's money supply that's not in the marketplace. And that's also ZiG, because you've got exporter surrender, which we hear, the numbers that we hear are shocking, but I'm hoping that our government is going to be clear, especially when they're presenting their government, to actually tell us how much is actually owed to the exporters. But if you look at that money supply, if it were to come into our market, then we should expect a devaluation. So what I would like to see is us starting addressing the inflation problem. How we do it, we can then go into the details, but let's address that. Then the second thing is actually something that Ranga has already picked up on, which is money that is actually owed by Treasury. And it's 3 kinds of money that are owed to Treasury that I'm worried about. The first one is the exporters.
You mean money that Treasury owes?
The Treasury owes. So you've got the exporters surrender, like 30% that hasn't been paid. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the TBs that are overdue and
that are mature, that we are trading in this part of the world.
Matured and haven't been paid out, and that number keeps accumulating and keeps growing. And finance hasn't come out very clearly on what they're going to do about that. And then you've got the short-term contractors who gave Treasury, who provided government with goods and services, and they haven't been paid. But in other parts of the world, and I want to hear what you guys think, there's this thing called tradable tax credits, where government owes you, and it acknowledges. So instead of a TB, it's sort of a tax credit. They give you a tax credit, but it's tradable. So you can take that tax credit to somebody who
wants it. And they'll pick it up at a discount.
They pick it up at a discount, and they use that to pay their taxes.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So
tradable tax credits.
So the truth of the matter, or rather, the reason why we don't have such things, right, is because we are not serious about debt and creditors, right? We have a very long, well-documented history of not respecting money owed to creditors, right? And that's why you will find that you will have an exporter that is owed 30% retention. They get a non-negotiable, right? So it's explicit, like, in the creation of this instrument, that you can't sell it to somebody who might want it from you at a discount, right? And this doesn't hurt the state in any way, by the way. Like if I'm able to sell just like a TB or any government debt, if I'm able to sell it, the state is not going to be out of pocket, right? But they're insisting that no, we don't want there to be a market for this. You alone are on the hook. right? So it's a non-negotiable instrument, right? And that same exporter that has this non-negotiable certificate of deposit for their 30% retention, if they don't pay their payroll tax on time, if they don't pay their VAT on time, if they don't pay any of their statutory obligations on time, the state is going to be on them, so fast it will make your head spin. And they will hit you with penalties and interest. And the fact that the state also owes them this, that those are separate issues, right? They're not even having that conversation. So it's I don't know whether it's cultural or philosophical. There's this belief by Treasury that they have the prerogative to expropriate value from the business community by not paying you whether it's a 30% retention, whether it's a TB that is becoming mature, but you don't have the same prerogative with your obligations to the state. You must come to the party and pay up, otherwise you're going to be in a world of trouble.
Ranga?
Yeah, well, I will concur with Shumba and say it seems like the thinking is, Treasury actually sees business as, it sees itself as doing a favor to business. So if you owe them, you don't owe them. They decide when, and how to pay. And so it's never wired in them to look at it as a pure commercial transaction, where if you owe, you have to pay. So ordinarily, in the scenario that Rufaro has unpegged, you'd expect that Treasury would allow for netting off. Netting off. So we owe you, you owe us. So the net sum is we owe you this much, you owe us this much.
Well, they believe in gross settlements.
No, I don't think they believe in any kind of settlements. I think they just...
because they're not settling.
Because they are not settling at all. And they don't actually feel that they've got an obligation to settle. It's certainly not one that you can impress upon them. If you actually are found trying to, push them to get paid, you may get in trouble. So I think that's the thinking which is there. And I guess obviously it works with local businesses because they've got nowhere to go, right? And also to the extent that they sometimes also get benefits from government. But look, let's face it, sometimes the inefficiencies and all these bad policies sometimes bring certain advantages to certain businesses. I think one of them will be around, say, the exchange rate, right? There are times where certain businesses are able to pick money, US dollars, at sub, market rates. So that's a positive on their part. So I think the thinking may be one that says, you know what, you sometimes get value from us. We might as well get value from you. But you can't do that and expect to get an international investor into the country where you are not paying. And look, it's fine. It's common in business that sometimes someone might struggle to pay, but someone that owes, their attitude will not be one that comes and start bulldozing you or start bullying you. They will come to you and maybe ask for the debt to be rescheduled, or maybe some kind of a transaction, whether we're converting it to equity. That's what we do in investment banking, right? But in Zim, it's totally different. Someone can just say, I'm not paying you. And the next day, they actually want you to still provide the service. Yeah. So, and I also guess the local businesses some of them have found a way of dealing with that. So what do you do?
That's why US dollar inflation is high.
Yeah. What do? You overcharge.
You price it in.
Yeah, you price it in. You price it in. But even that pricing that in is not available for everyone. Because Treasury sometimes also pick and choose which invoices to settle.
What do you mean sometimes?
All the time.
Yeah. So
okay. So my third thing, which is somewhat a positive, and I thought that we would, we should really double down on it, is we've got this commodity boom, especially with gold and platinum prices. gold is up 61% or so.
Year to date,
Year
yeah,
to
it's
date.
been on a tear.
Platinum again above 50%. That really means that we've got another opportunity, a window. We could speculate whether these prices will be sustained in 2026, but certainly they will be high enough. And maybe this is a chance and opportunity for government to then reduce the taxes, reduce the regulation, to allow exploration and to allow the new investment in mining, so that really we get gold, we double our gold production, we increase our platinum, rather than doing what Malawi has done, which is ban the export of raw materials or raw ore, and then you must beneficiate. Like, this is not the time for us to be beneficiating. This is a time really for us to produce as much gold as we can. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I don't think you've been emphatic enough. We have a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, probably an opportunity the size of tens of billions, right? Because we have a lot of gold in our country, where we have an incredibly rich gold endowment. And, wearing my capital markets hat, I've learned a little bit about gold, and I'm advising on a couple of gold transactions. And what blew my mind is just the extent of our gold endowment. It's massive, right? And yet, most of the production is incredibly small scale, right? So we're leaving an obscene amount of money on the table. If we actually had a proper auction for claims, and we let people, we created a framework in which there was an incentive for the gold majors, the Barrick Golds of this world, to come through
and do
spend a bunch of money on exploration and say, hey guys, let's auction the mineral rights at market prices, and get them to aggressively build mines and extract.
I would give the mineral rights for $1. Like, why do you care?
Because we're going to get royalties, we're going to get taxes, right? You're going to
guys
stimulate
on the
so
ground.
much economic activity. So if we are on course in 2025 to do 40 tons, right? And 70-80% of the mining methods and technology is medieval. Imagine if we actually were serious and we had the gold majors doing 90% of the mining.
Right now, they're going to Ghana, they're going to Equatorial Guinea, they're going to Tanzania, and they're putting in, $1 billion, $2 billion US in gold.
mining. So we could potentially be doing hundreds of tons
Who is we?
a year. Zimbabwe.
So I think one thing that is lost on you guys is gold, for the longest time here, has never been done for the way, eh? So you think the authorities do not know what needs to be done. So I think our gold sector is opaque for a reason. So I actually don't think what you are proposing there is
Could you expand on what you mean by opaque for a reason?
Without getting yourself into trouble.
Because the opaqueness could still continue. We're saying that there's this bit where we could easily produce 100 tons of gold without being opaque. And then there's this 20 tons that we produce, which is opaque. We can still allow that to continue being opaque.
But if you can do it all the way, why just do it 20,000?
Then we don't have a problem
So
with that.
I mean, if you speak to, just look at it, how it's been difficult for any corporate exploration or corporate miners in Zimbabwe over the years. I think we have seen some that would come with so much backing of financiers from across the world, and they'll look at Zimbabwe in terms of the reserves and etc. resources, actually endowment, and thinking we're going to be making money. But if you look, Zim seems to be very, very difficult. The way it's set up, the way they I think the gold sector is run by cartels, is run by, very interested people that would not allow it to, to go that route where you'd have a world-class gold mining giant coming into Zimbabwe. The fragmentation is actually a benefit.
But the fragmentation is primarily due to our geology.
I think there's the geology, but I think there's also deliberate.
And we're saying that our geology and the deliberateness of opaqueness is not unique to Zimbabwe.
Okay.
In Tanzania, it's there. In DRC, it's there. But why is it in the DRC they can work in tandem? You've got the big Barrick Gold is there, but you still have, Goma and its litany of artisanal miners. We're saying we can do both.
Probably.
But I'll give it to
So
you.
the way you look at it, you seem to say we are more advanced than DRC. You are probably worse off than them, eh?
Of course we are.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we're worse off because we don't have the Barrick Gold in country.
Yeah.
But actually,
I don't think.
So I want to push back strongly to what you're saying because I disagree with you quite violently. I'll use land reform as an analogy, right? So if you think about land reform, the biggest beneficiaries of land reform were people who had proximity to power. Yeah. And that's not controversial, right? Now, how are the beneficiaries of land reform best served? How would they make the most of the land that they currently occupy, right? If they had a title deed, right? A freehold title deed, they would actually be much better off, right? Than having an offer letter and just occupants, right? And so I'm going to make the same argument with gold to say, yes, this opacity benefits certain people with proximity to power. But if instead of operating in this opaque universe, they actually had a claim that was that's available, that anybody, any investor, any capital allocator anywhere in the world can log on to the Ministry of Mines and see that so and so owns this claim and it's got so much gold. And if I want access to that resource, I need to partner that guy. Those individuals who right now are using the DVO methods to get value, sponsoring Makomba Korokoza, right? Instead of sponsoring Korokozas, surely you're going to be so much wealthier if your partner is Barrick Gold, right? So they're not actually better off in the current dispensation, right? They would actually be better off if they had these majors coming through and saying, hey, you know what? It's fine. You own the claim. You own the resource. We're going to be your partners. We have technical and financial muscle.
Rufaro, I can do one better before Zia comes in. The nature of claims and the nature of gold mining is you can keep the korokozas or the opaqueness wherever it's happening. So suppose it's happening in Hauna. We can say, you guys are backward and that's what you want to do.
That's fine. We're going to drill a shaft that goes 500 meters down where you guys have no capacity.
Yes. Because you know the problem when you look at our geology and you look at the gold mining that's happening. I think the deepest we have is maybe Caledonia, but outside of that, I think
how deep is it?
I think it's not about a kilometer. But
Vumba Chikwe in Rwanda is about a kilometer. We visited it about a decade ago.
We've been a kilometer, but it's a kilometer.
Almost all of a kilometer is not much, by the way. In gold,
obviously with modern mining technology,
and you've got a lot of the mines because they're old shafts. They go up to maybe 200, 300 meters. That's it. So what you need is you need to go deeper, and the only way you can go deeper is you need the technology. And I'm saying the two can exist.
They can coexist
without interfering. And what will eventually happen is we can actually produce more than 200, 300 tons of gold.
But unfortunately, what is actually happening on the ground is all these formal mining houses, they're having to go through, very high hurdles of a regulatory nature.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we're saying.
Yes.
As the minister,
Yeah.
he should address those things.
Or at least on the other side, the artisanal miner, obviously they have got very minimal, if any, compliance requirements that they have to deal with.
It's hilarious to me that we refer to them as artisanal miners because when somebody says artisanal, in my mind, I'm thinking of a quaint cheese.
Okay,
shop or-
But that's the more politically correct terminology term that you have to use to.
So have we become politically correct here?
Well,
In some instances.
I'm choosing to. At this, yeah.
Okay. No. Fair enough. But let's tie it together and then we close the show. So your thoughts, your final thoughts.
Like on the budget.
On the budget and.
It's the same thing. I mean, like we have done this budget thing here, and so many times. Like one thing that I've always chosen to do as an analyst has been, and I always make some noise about it with my colleagues whenever I meet, that when it comes to Zim, there's a part of me that is wishing for Zim to succeed, right? And that part is not scientific in any way. It just means it's emotional, right? So I would wish for all those positive things that we have in our minds to happen. But there's what data is telling me consistently.
Reality is asserting itself.
Yeah. So it is very clear. We were sitting here last year talking about the 2025 budget, and look, I think the mindset hasn't changed. Things are going well as far as the policymakers are concerned. If anything, instead of maybe reducing the tax, they might actually increase it if they feel that we are not getting enough. Instead of paying all these people that are owed, they will actually even bump up the number. And
we're likely to see that's reality. We're likely to see more taxes than tax
so,
reduction.
but unfortunately, there are things that they can't run away from. That are so. If the rain season is not great, it means we're gonna have another grain deficit that will have to be dealt with. But if we have a good or decent rain season, then tobacco is gonna come through. The grain deficits are going to be much less, and a number of things. So as long as some of those things that speaks directly to the peasant farmer or to the household, especially in the rural areas, I think that will be seen as a victory, because now you don't have pressure to be providing them with grain. If they sell their tobacco or the cotton and they have the money, they can continue just living their subsistence life. But as for other big macro dreams that we may have, I don't see them panning out. If anything, I'll be sitting here disappointed again in 2026.
Fair enough. Shumba, last words?
Look, I tend to have an optimistic take on things. Sometimes I'm described as
euphemism for say I ignore data.
I'm
And he becomes a prophet.
Perhaps I'm naive and foolish. Perhaps I am a prophet. But look, I think the Treasury actually has a crisis where they can't pay their bills, right? And I think, I don't know which politician, which famous leader talked about, how a crisis is a greater opportunity. Like never waste a good crisis. A good crisis. So we have a crisis, and so we have to do things differently. Otherwise, the crisis is going to deepen, and things are actually going to stop working and start breaking, right? Because if you are not paying your suppliers and vendors for long enough, at some point they're going to stop supplying you, and things are going to stop working and start breaking. So I think this crisis is an opportunity for them to introspect and perhaps do things differently. So touch wood, we actually see them introspect and do things differently.
Fantastic.
I'm allowed to just push back just for a minute.
Sure.
So we have had crisis since, I think, 1980, or maybe if I'm generous.
1965.
Yes. Look, I'll talk about, I wasn't there in 1965, but if you want to stretch it that far. And one thing that is so consistent about Zim, we never learn from crisis. Because the people that are in there who are cooking it, they don't see it as a crisis. That's the problem. The fact that they are not paying someone, it's not a crisis to them. They look at him and say he doesn't deserve to be paid. You get it. So you will never get to that point where they're like, okay, we have to correct things because things are working. They're going on very well as far as they're concerned.
And I suppose in their personal lives, things are going
much better.
Swimmingly.
Exactly.
I think on that
Negative.
positive and negative, depending on which way you look at it. I think those are
the prophet, the realist.
Let's actually wait for a month and we'll see what will actually be in the budget. Otherwise, we meet you in the UK with Friday Drinks in collaboration with Sahwira Market Place. And we're looking forward to it. And hopefully you will join us and hopefully you will sign up for the marketplace. And to Omari, thank you very much.
Cheers, Omari.
You've been great partners for us. Just remember the benefits of the card. It's affordable charges. And I can attest to this. I now actually have the card and it is affordable. It's acceptable worldwide. We'll be able to test that next week. And it's available as a physical as well as a virtual card. And I've seen the Visa. It's a nice design and it's great to have in your wallet. Otherwise, have yourself a wonderful rainy weekend. I'm crossing my fingers that it will actually rain. And join you next week. Cheers.
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 Happy, 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 happy. Happy, 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 happy.
You can also be happy with the Omari Visa card, the best Visa card in town. Get your Omari Visa card today by sending hi on the WhatsApp number 0787 707 707 now. Get the Omari Visa card to shop online, swipe anywhere, and withdraw cash at any ATM in the world today.
I cannot think twice 'cause I did my part.